Hi there, and welcome to Lesson 8 in our series on using Google Docs. In this lesson, I'm going to take you through how to insert tables into Google Docs. Quite a nifty feature, really useful for placing text on the page exactly where you'd like it. So let's get started. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new document. And inside this document, I'm going to insert a table which is 4 by 5. Now, I can either do that from the Insert menu by going to the Table menu item there, or I can simply go to the Table menu item and use that one. So we're going to insert something that is 4 columns by 5 rows. Click, and there is my table inserted. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to enter in some data here. 4 p.m., oops. These are times, and 6 p.m. So as you can see, so far, very simple to insert a table and then to enter text into that table. But by the end of this lesson, I want us to create a broadcast schedule for 1 week of our program Learn Extra Live. But because there's quite a lot of data that we need to enter, lots of typing that we need to do, I'm going to get a document which has got a pre-made table in it with all the information. Let's go and get that document. So here you can see I've added a heading to our document, and I've pre-populated the table with all the information that we're going to need. So this is the broadcast schedule for 1 week of Learn Extra Live. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to increase the width of the table borders. Now, you need to make sure that you are inside the table. So make sure that your I-bar is inside one of the cells in the table if you want to make modifications to the table itself. And there are two ways to do this. The first way is to access from the table menu the table properties item. And there you can see table border, drop down list. We're going to make the table border 1.5. Click on OK. You can see that has changed the border of the entire table. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to change the header row. We're going to change its background color. Now to do that, so I'm going to select all the cells in the top row before I go to the table menu and the table properties item and select the dark gray, and that you'll see has changed all of these cells, their background color to dark gray. Now I can't really see the text anymore, so I'm going to make it bold and change the text color to white. Yeah, that stands out much better. Okay, let's take a look at the first column here. Now you'll see what I just did in the first row. If I select all the text, all the text in all the cells in the first column, then I can go ahead and I can change the formatting of that text as need be. Alternatively, if I just make that selection, I'm only going to be changing that text. Now I want to make the second row, this row over here, I want to make those cells over there, those 3 cells over there, orange, because they are all mathematics, and mathematics in our colors is orange. So select all of those cells, go into table properties, and from this menu select orange. Okay, you'll see that's made everything in there orange. I want to do the same thing down here at the bottom. This cell here, I want just this cell to be yellow. So make sure that your I-bar, your cursor, is inside that cell. And at this point, I'm going to show you a shortcut to get to the table and table properties menu. If you just right-click, it brings up this menu here with lots of options, which we'll get to in terms of managing your tables. But here's the table properties menu item again. Brings up the same screen. So we're going to make that one yellow for geography. We're going to make accounting purple. And we're going to make maths literacy a light green. Now the last thing I want to show you is how to turn table borders off, which can be really useful if you don't want anyone viewing your document to know that you've used tables. Let's take a look at that. So in that instance, all that I need to do is go into the table properties, and instead of selecting a table border width of say 1.5, all that I need to do is take a table border width of 0 points. Notice here that you can also change the color of the table border should you need to. I'm going to leave it at black. Let's just have a look at what a 0 table border looks like. There we go. That table no longer has any borders, and it's absolutely not unclear that we've used the table to format our text in this way. Now, once again, to save time, I've got a preset schedule that I've made before the lesson that we can continue working on. So let's get that document up over here. So in this case, I've shaded all of the cells in to be their correct subject colors. And I now want to make this first column over here a little bit narrower. So one way we can do that is to move your mouse onto the border of that column. And you see it becomes a double-headed arrow. Now if you click and drag, you can make that column narrower. Now you see what happens is it makes the following column a bit wider because these two columns are still the same width. So I still want these three columns here to be the same width. Now the way to do that is I can select those three columns and go into our table properties and use this option here, column width. And I'm going to set the column width at 3 centimeters in this case. Let's see what that does. Oh dear, no, that's a bit narrow. I think I want columns that are wider. So let's go back, select those columns, right-click back into table properties, and I'm going to make the column widths 6. There. Oh dear, that's too wide. Well, it's easy to change. Just going to quickly change my page setup to landscape. And now if I just minimize my view, you can see that that table now fits very nicely on my landscape page. Now, the last thing I want to show you right now is how we can increase cell padding. So if you have a look here, in your table, cell padding is the distance between the edge of the cell and the start of the text or the content inside that cell, both left and right and top and bottom. So to change the cell padding, let's select all of the cells in our table. Table properties. Currently the cell padding is 0.2. I'm going to go ahead and change that to 1. And you can see that that makes the cell padding quite a lot bigger. In this case, far too big. So let's undo that change and redo it to something a little better, perhaps 0.3. So that just creates a little bit of extra space between the text and the edge of the cells. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to insert a table within the existing table. That gives you a lot of really nice formatting features. So I'm going to insert my new table inside the cell, and I know I'm going to insert inside the cell because that's where my I bar is. And this table is going to be a 1x2 table. There it is, inside the cell. And I'm going to just enter in some text here. Notes and video. Do some of our usual formatting. Table properties, make that one blue. Make this one red. Perhaps change the font color. And the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the borders from this table. So right-click Table Properties. The borders are going to make that 0. Now the last thing that you absolutely need to know about working with tables in Google Docs is once you've got a table, how do you just insert new rows or new columns? Well, the answer really couldn't be much simpler. In this case, here's my I bar. So this is the cell that I currently have selected. And you'll see in your table menu, you've got Insert Row above, row below, column left, column right. So because this is the cell where my I bar is, if I were to select Insert Column Left, it's obviously going to insert a column to the left of whatever cell I have selected. I'm going to undo that. Exactly the same is true for rows, either above the cell that is selected or below the cell that is selected. And the last thing that you need to know is how to delete. So let's, for example, say that we had inserted a row below this last row here that we now wanted to delete. Well, very simple. Make sure that your I bar, your cursor, is in any one of the cells inside that row, and go to Table and Delete Row. It will delete whatever row your cursor is currently in. Well, that brings us to the end of our lesson on using tables inside Google Docs. I hope that you've enjoyed it and learned a tremendous amount, and I'll see you next time.